Would you like to learn 3 ways to combat hopelessness? Stay tuned and find out. Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author, mental health educator, and depression survivor. Welcome to your mental health recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. The title of today's video is 3 Ways to Combat Hopelessness, but first we have to tell our joke. Now, I think this is actually a good pun. So, what happened when the dentist married the manicurist? They fought tooth and nail. Yeah, my videographer is nodding. All right, so today's title again, 3 Ways to Combat Hopelessness. And why is this topic so important? Because those who have studied depression and have been depressed can tell you that it's not just the pain of depression, but the sense of hopelessness and despair that makes people want to give up and end it all. Think about this example. Let's say you're going through a really difficult ordeal. It could be an illness, it could be an emotional crisis, a financial crisis, and then someone told you at a certain date in the future, let's say July 17th, the crisis would be over and you would be liberated from your suffering. Well, no matter how long in the future it was, you would get a calendar and start marking the days off, anticipating, the end of the crisis, right? Anticipating this liberation. This is very similar to, say, someone in prison being given a release date. But what if that date came and the end of the crisis did not occur? Moreover, what if you were not given a new end date? In other words, you were not told at a certain point in time you would be out of the crisis. Well, you would plunge into a state of despair, right? I mean, every person I know who's been suicidal, including myself, has said that their despair, their suicidal feelings occurred when they thought that the depression would never end and they would be enduring this pain forever. Well, if you're in such a state or you know someone who is, I've come up with 3 ways that I've used for myself to combat hopelessness. First, say those 4 magic words that I've repeated how many times in this channel, I don't know. They are, "This too shall pass." As I stated in my video, 4 words that can save a life, the only constant in the physical universe is change. The Buddhists call this impermanence. I mean, think back to your life. Like, look 5 years ago. You're not the same person you were. You're not in the same circumstances. Well, if things changed in the past, they can do so in the future. Remember, everything is in flux. Secondly, try to think about time as unfolding not in a straight line, but as a series of cycles. Some of you may remember the song by the Byrds, "Turn, Turn, Turn." It was quite popular. And the lyrics are taken from the book of Ecclesiastes that go, "To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven." Well, right now you're in a season of darkness. You may be in a season of despair or hopelessness. But just as spring follows winter, your season of darkness will give way to a season of rebirth. To understand this idea of time unfolding in cycles, it might be helpful to consult the many, many myths out there in all the different world religions that talk about the cycle of death and rebirth. My favorite, of course, is the phoenix bird, which after 500 years burned itself in a funeral pyre and then rose out of its ashes. Of course, if you look at the Greek myth of Persephone and Ceres, the mother goddess, Persephone, her daughter, kidnapped by Pluto, taken into the underworld, and then eventually released to see her mother for 6 months, then back into the underworld. The Greeks, again, used this to explain the coming and going of the seasons. And then, of course, there's the story of Christ who is crucified, buried in a tomb, and then rose. So whether you think about these myths either literally or symbolically, they do explain, or they don't explain, they show us that in the ongoing cycle of human existence, we experience things in seasons, and one season gives way to another. My third strategy for overcoming hopelessness, and I've had to use this a lot of times, is don't ask yourself the question, will this pain end? Because your brain will say, never. It will never end. You're doomed. And this is how the disease of depression distorts the brain's thinking. Instead, a much better question to ask is, how can I make it through the end of the day? How can I basically get through the next couple of hours and survive? And of course, the best way to do this is to distract yourself from the pain. This can mean calling a friend, my favorite, taking a walk, listening to music, doing a Sudoku, If your anxiety is real high, maybe taking an anti-anxiety medication. Some people just go to sleep. Whatever it is, you make it through the end of the day, and you don't have to worry about tomorrow. You just have to think about making till the end of the day. Now, what if during this process of trying to do this, your mind jumps into the future and catastrophizes? You just say, cancel, cancel, take a deep breath, and focus yourself on your feet, or focus on your feet and your feet touching the ground. This will bring you back into the current reality, into the present. You may have to do this every hour, every half hour, every 15 minutes, every minute. Do it as often as you can until you make it through the end of the day. I'd like to conclude with a story from my worst depressive episode many years ago that helped me to overcome feelings of hopelessness. I went into a brand new counselor in my outpatient treatment. Her name was Vicky, and I walked in. She said, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm doomed. It's over. I'm never going to get better. I might as well die." She said, "How do you know?" I said, I just know. Don't ask me, I just know." She said, "That's interesting. Are you God? Are you omnipotent? Are you omniscient? Do you know the future?" I said, "Well, I guess not." "Well," she said, "if you're not God, then be open to the fact that the future can change. Hasn't it changed in the past? Haven't things happened to you that you never thought would happen?" I said, "Yeah, like falling into this depressive episode." She said, "Well, if that can happen in the past, then things can happen in the future you weren't expecting." And I thought, yeah, maybe she's right. There was a bit of doubt in my mind. Maybe things can change for the better. What Vicky did for me, I'm now wanting to do for you. To place some doubt in your mind when you think all is lost, because all is not lost. About 3 weeks after my meeting with Vicky, my depression started to lift. And soon I recovered. And if you hang in there long enough, the same shift can happen for you. I'd like to conclude with a lovely poem about hope that I'd like to read to you. There is no medicine like hope, no incentive so great, no tonic so powerful as the expectation of something better tomorrow. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please give it a like. I really appreciate the comments you guys leave on this channel, or you can write me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you want to be notified every time I do a new video or a new live chat, you can subscribe to this channel. Click on the subscribe button when it appears, and when you get to the page, click on the little bell to the upper right. And if you want to contribute to this channel and help us make more videos, simply when you see the Patreon button, click on it, and for as little as $2 a month, you can become a sustaining member. And until we meet again, I wish you a better tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening.